Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grammy Museum Experience Prudential Center's mini masterclass. My name is Mark Conklin. I'm the Director of Artist Relations and Programming at the Grammy Museum Experience Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, the East Coast home of the Grammy Museum. Although our doors are closed, we're continuing our mission of educating and hopefully inspiring our youth and adults to create their own music or learn about a possible career in the music industry. So we've launched our mini masterclass series where we'll talk with artists and music industry professionals from all different genres. We'll be asking 5 questions in 5 minutes about their career, their craft, and their inspiration. Afterward, we want to hear from you. We want you to apply something you've learned or that's inspired you and create some music of your own and share it with us. I'll be back at the end of the discussion to let you know how to do that. But first, let's meet our next guest. Okay, welcome back, everybody, to Grammy Museum Experience Prudential Center's mini masterclass. Very excited to be joined today by Julian Lage. He's been hailed as one of the most prodigious guitarists of his generation, and he is also a Grammy-nominated guitarist and recording artist, which, of course, we love. Julian, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Mark. I'm so glad we could do this.
Great. Here we go. 5 questions, roughly 5 minutes. First, what do you think are the qualities or the traits and skills that one would need to be successful in the profession that you've chosen for yourself?
Wow, it's such a good question. Well, one of the principles I think I've been very lucky to follow since I was very young, like a child playing music, is that I was around a lot of good-natured people. I was around people who were not only interested in interacting with me because of the music, but also just people who were, kind and generous and good listeners and really respectful, not only of me, but my parents or, my teacher. And I've always felt like that principle is kind of non-negotiable. Now, the reason I say that is that there's sometimes a pressure or an intimidation that's felt that you have to just kind of tough it out with maybe mistreatment or this, that, or the other, and it's all so you can become successful. I don't believe that. I think you can kind of eliminate the people who don't feel like they're healthy in your world and really cultivate a crew of positivity. And that's not to say it's not challenging, but that's probably a huge part of it. Furthermore, I'm a jazz guitar player, and to me, that's what I'd consider kind of a subculture. It's not mainstream by any stretch of the imagination. That has provided a lot of protection or support or however you want to call it for me, and just remembering that I'm like an art nerd. I like stuff that's kind of unusual and it's not for everybody, and as long as I stay true to what I really believe in with the art, there typically will be an audience for it, of either like-minded people or people who aren't like-minded but find it fascinating because they don't connect to it. So that's the other thing, is just kind of stick to what you love. Don't feel like you have to really hybridize it, and do it with people that you respect as humans and, artists. I think that those are kind of the tenets of my whole life.
Those are great. And what's the thing that you still, that you love the best about all the things that you do? What's the thing that still gets you excited now?
Well, I like people, I like music. For me is a communication vessel. It allows for, I don't know, to share messages, to interact with people all over the world. And I know that might sound almost cliche, but it's really true. What gets me excited is writing songs so that other musicians can play them with me, or playing concerts so that other people can have an experience with us as a band. And also just trying to get better. I mean, I really want to get better and stronger and go deeper into all the things that I am interested in on the guitar, especially.
Okay, so what's one thing you could give us, a tip or a trick, something that you use for your craft or your career that you think might be insightful and helpful for our viewers?
Well, to be honest, the thing that comes to mind isn't that revolutionary by any stretch of the imagination, but it's the simple act of recording oneself, as a player. Something I do a lot is if I'm practicing a song, I'll record it, either audio or video, and then I'll listen back and what it allows me to do is kind of stay present when I'm performing, but allows me a proper forum to critique what I'm doing. You know, I think we all know the experience of thinking, did that go well? I don't know. It felt good. I don't know if it sounded good. And I think you can help reconcile that discrepancy through a steady diet of recording and listening to oneself. That it doesn't matter what project I'm working on, what band I'm in, what concept I'm working on. It's a universally great technique to just help upgrade your abilities.
It reveals a lot. Sometimes what you think you heard and then what you actually hear is
It can be way different.
way different. Um, Going back now, a little one we call vintage vinyl, something, a record or an album that, you know, from the last century that you listen to, that you still go back to and you find inspiration from, that you think our viewers might be, you know, well to check out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. I was just showing a friend this because this is an easy one for me because there's a record I heard very early on, and it really kind of I'd say set the course for my interests aesthetically, and it's Jim Hall and Bill Evans' Undercurrent. Jim Hall, the guitar master, kind of the father of modern jazz guitar, you could say. He was a mentor of mine, and then Bill Evans, the great jazz pianist, who similarly was, you know, maniacally impactful. Like there's nothing his sound hasn't touched. Whether you know, he's just influential cats. Well, they made two albums together. Second one was called Intermodulation, but the first one, Undercurrent, I believe it came out in 1962 or thereabouts on Blue Note, and it's just incredible. It's what's interesting about it. I'd say the reason I'd recommend it to other people is that though it's a duo and you consider duos to be very conversational, there's a beautiful sense of, I don't want to say ignoring, but there's a sense that both parties really have their own rhetoric, so to speak. They have their own ideas and their own message, and sometimes they work together and sometimes they don't. But the consequence is that it's incredibly dramatic. You know, there are times where Bill Evans will just solo as if Jim's not even there, and you know, from the outside listening in, you kind of add the two parts together and you go, "Wow, this is an orchestra," you know,
Right.
versus maybe the more traditionally sought after approach, which is commentary like for like. You play something, I play something. It's there's something kind of irrational about the performance that's so satisfying. To boot, it's, you know, a classic Rudy Van Gelder record. It sounds amazing, and I don't know. I think that would be fun for anyone who hasn't heard it yet.
I'll have to, admittedly, I have not, so I'm going to check that one out.
Great,
Sure.
it's rewarding.
And last question, something that you've either read or heard or listened to recently, watched, anything that has inspired you, something that that you found interesting that we can share too?
Well, you know, it's funny because I feel, if I'm being terribly honest, I feel very isolated in my interest in the guitar and music 99% of the time. It's not that I don't come up for air, but you know, I'm that person who just kind of stares at things for a long time and thinks about them and practices. So the only thing that comes to mind as of late was just a few days ago, this movie called A Hidden Life, which is a beautiful, beautiful movie that I'm blanking on the director's name, but it's kind of an epic about World War II and some things associated with it. But the innovation as far as the cinematography was so striking to me because it would be very wide landscape shots, but done with a lens that made it seem very in your face, almost like a fisheye lens, you could say. And so you took this traditional narrative, but you had a very modern, I guess, aesthetic around how it's portrayed. And I thought, you know, that's not only is it masterful, and like I bow down with respect to anyone who can pull anything like that off, but I saw the correlation to what I'm interested in too, which is having these quintessential themes, you know, whether it be swing or jazz or blues or 12-bar blues, what doesn't matter, and having a modern lens. And I thought, wow, that wouldn't have occurred to me. So I was grateful for that. That's probably the most recent thing.
Oh, we have to check that out too.
Yeah.
Well, we made it. 5 questions in, you know, almost 5 minutes.
That's great.
The last question.
Yes.
What, for you, what's happening? What are you working on? What's coming up? What should we expect?
Well, I have a trio record, which I have this long-standing band with Dave King on drums and Jorge Roeder on bass, and we are slated to make this record. It was supposed to happen last month, and it was actually for medical reasons that the whole thing was put on pause, and then the current medical situation occurred, and uh, God willing, we'll proceed with this record date. But I'm thrilled because it's a collection of songs that um, are kind of deriving from a little bit more of a gospel and blues language,
Hmm.
but recorded in a very deliberate, older style. Um, so that's the next chapter that we're pushing for. And then furthermore, I'm always chipping away at different solo guitar. I call them books, books of music, where there's a collection of songs. I did a solo acoustic guitar record about 5 years ago that I loved, and it was kind of the impetus for me to do more. And I haven't recorded anything since, and I'm ready to do that. So those are the two Julian-centric projects, and then beyond that, hopefully continuing to work with Charles Lloyd, who's been a hero of mine for years. We've been working together a lot over the last year and a half, 2 years. So those are kind of the main things on the docket.
Well, we look forward to it. The Love Hurts project, which is fantastic, by the way. I was listening to it again this morning, and
Oh,
really,
cool. Thanks a lot.
really great. So everybody should check that out. And thanks again, really, for doing this, for taking the time, and
My pleasure. Anything I
can't
can.
wait to see you when the doors open at the Grammy Museum Experience Prudential Center. You come
I would
visit us.
love that. No, that's all. It's on my radar, and I'm so grateful to be included in this. So thank you, Mark.
Great. Thank you, Julian. Have a great day, and thanks everybody for watching the Grammy Museum Experience Prudential Center's mini masterclass. We'll see you next time. I hope you learned something new or interesting from our special guest. Be sure to check out some of the music and inspirations we discussed during our conversation. And now we want to hear from you. We need you and your music more than ever. So we're encouraging you to make some music, make a video, post it, and tag us. It can be practicing your instrument or learning a new one, write a new song or learn a new cover song, make a beat on your computer, sing a cappella, whatever you like. Just video yourself, post it, and tag us at Prue Center and use the hashtag Grammy Museum EXP. We promise we'll check out every single one and might even repost a few. And join us each weekday at 3 p.m. for more of Grammy Museum Experience Prudential Center's mini masterclass. Until then, make music and make a difference. I'm Mark Conklin. So long.